Welcome to A Walk in My Stilettos, where our goal is to help you walk in your greatness. I'm your host, Makini Smith. The purpose of this show is to inspire you to walk in your greatness. We have conversations with amazing women that are letting us take a step into their stilettos. I get inspired when I see another woman succeeding, but what inspires me more is their backstory and their mindset on how they got there. So today's guest is about to bless us with her testimony, and since you're already here, you may as well subscribe. We have Heidi Allen. She's the founder of the Positive People Army, and what began as a blog, it rapidly became a global movement with thousands of women from all over the world working together to make a positive difference. She's a two-time published author in Chicken Soup for the Soul. Her new softcover collection of inspirational stories is aptly named Stories, Finding Your Wings. And she just recently joined Linda Proctor, wife of Bob Proctor, to build global leaders. Please welcome to the show, Heidi Allen.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Thank you so much for agreeing to come on and share your story with us.
Yes, no, I'm super excited. It's very funny when you hear your own bio being told to you. You're like, huh, yeah, I guess I did do all that stuff.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And especially, when I have women like yourself that are world changers that come on here, you guys are all so humble. And because it's not about you, when you hear your own bios, you're like, oh my God, that sounds so cool.
Like, that's amazing. I'd love to meet her.
I'm like, yeah, that's you. Look in the mirror.
Wow.
I love it. I love it. So I like to start the show with an icebreaker question. And that question is, Heidi, do you know what your name means?
What my name means?
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't know what my name means. I've never learned the definition. I think if I was to describe it, what Heidi means is someone that is energetic, full of life, doesn't let anything stop her, and yet loves to find a sense of humor not only in herself, but everyone else.
Love it. Love it. So I love to ask that question because I feel like, especially, the type of women that come on the show, everyone is so used to being referred to by their titles, but a title that doesn't get enough recognition is our names. And we're called that so many times a day, and our names actually have meaning. And I find that when we determine the meaning of someone's name, it actually describes who they are as a person. So we're basically declaring that over and over again in a day. So I Googled what Heidi means, and in French, it means nobility, and in German, it means of noble birth.
Wow. Huh.
Interesting.
That's kind of cool. Can I tell you the funniest thing? When I was growing up, the name Heidi was not popular at all. It has now become a much more popular name. But when I was growing up, there were no other Heidis. I was always the only Heidi. In every single school, every single circle, I was the only Heidi. And for the longest time, I disliked my name so much because of that. And I wanted so much to be a Jennifer. That was the most popular name at the time. And I wanted to be a Jennifer more than you will ever know. And then it wasn't until I got to about middle of high school that I realized something pretty unusual about my name. And it was that no one ever forgot it. And it made me realize that if no one ever forgets my name, then no one will ever forget me. And
Awesome.
That acknowledgement of self became my purpose in life, to make sure that everyone felt the way I had just discovered this about my own name. And ever since that day, I mean, I love the name Heidi now. But it was just such an awareness that I had as a young woman.
That's awesome. It's funny you say that. I mean, my name's Makini. Not very common.
So true.
Growing up, my parents tried to make me feel better about it, and they always told me, "Oh, it means beautiful one." So, as a little girl, and people were like, "Oh, that's an interesting name. What does that mean?" And I'm like, "It means beautiful," and it made me feel, confident. And no one ever had my name. And then when I got into high school, I actually met two other people with the same name. They weren't at the same high school, but I was introduced to them when I was a teenager, and I was like, wow, okay, we have the same name. We're around the same age. What was happening during that time? And as I got older, actually in my 20s, and I, went on social media and started to get into the internet, there was actually a Makini group on Facebook. I don't know if it still exists, but there were Makinis everywhere. And there were, I was
Wow.
like, oh, wow, okay. And when I started to build my business, I was actually fighting on Google for the name Makini Smith because there was a school in South Africa, actually, by the name of Makini Smith. I thought it was interesting. But Makini means
That
strength
is,
of character.
oh, that's amazing. Well, that's definitely you. That
Oh,
depicts you. And
well,
beautiful one, I would agree as well.
thank you. Thank you. So, speaking of little girls, what did you want to be when you were a little girl?
Oh my goodness. I love when people ask me this question because from the moment I started talking, I've always been a talker. And the moment I did start talking, I remember telling my mother, I'm going to do something really great in life. I never knew what that was, but I would always say, I'm going to do something really great, something really big. Like, Mom, it's going to be so big. And of course, your parents just pat you on the head. Of course, it's going to be amazing, But I was like, no, you don't understand. I am really going to do something great in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that purpose that kind of took me on the journey that I've been on and never stopped me from leaving very successful careers and starting all over again because I was constantly after this purpose of I'm supposed to do something really big in this life. And yeah, like I wish I could say, yeah, I wanted to be, a police officer or a nurse, but I was just like, I'm going to do something really big. And I never
Right.
knew what it was.
So, okay, so you talked about, always wanting to do something big. You've had an exciting past with careers. You've been a wedding gown store owner, a lifestyle editor for a popular wedding magazine, a co-host for a morning show, a host for 6 seasons for the popular wedding show Rich Bride, Poor Bride. You've been a producer on the number one daytime Canadian TV show, The Marilyn Denis Show. So can you just share what inspired you to walk away from all of that to build Positive People Army?
Oh, yeah. Walking away from a ginormous career like that, there was really only one reason, and that was that I lost myself in that career. I loved being a producer on the Marilyn Denis Show. I was the fashion makeover producer. So my job every single day, every single week was helping women transform themselves and men, but
Mm-hmm.
mostly women. Women that had been through, traumas, divorce, raising children and they got lost in it and didn't know who they were, whatever it was. And, I was able to give them a gift of, truly seeing how beautiful they are. It's not just on the inside, it's on the outside as well. And it would transform women's lives. But what was difficult for me is I was actually working in a toxic environment, and that's what it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
And I constantly felt like for me, I had to check my values at the door. And after, many years of going through this, and it felt, in the end, very much like an emotional and mental abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, looking at myself in the mirror the last year that I was there, and I didn't recognize this person anymore. And I've always been a person that, took very good care of myself, worked out all the time, ate healthy, was very much into personal self-development, and I had let a lot of that go. I wasn't working out as much. I'd put on weight. I was drinking too much. I was under extreme amounts of stress and anxiety. There wasn't a Monday that I went into work that I didn't have an anxiety attack.
Oh, wow.
And I realized I can't live like this anymore. And as much as I was making such a difference in other people's lives, the struggle that I was going through was the fact that I wasn't making a difference in my own life. And I wasn't okay with that anymore. I just wasn't. And yet I had no idea what I was supposed to do with the rest of my life. And that discovery, because I'd always known, I'd always moved from one career to the next in this, this driving purpose to make a difference in this world. And all of a sudden I was just stopped in my track and I didn't know how to get back up. And it put me into a depression for about 6 to 7 months.
Wow.
And during that depression, I had a incredible friend come back into my life, a mentor. And it's almost like the universe just literally brought her back to me. I hadn't spoken to her in years, and she called me up and she wanted to see me, and I wouldn't. I was embarrassed of the state that I was in. And she insisted I see her. And the moment I saw her, she knew something was wrong with me. I get very choked up when I tell this story. But she knew something was wrong with me. And I kept denying, no, I'm fine. I'm just, trying to figure things out. And she said, Heidi, I've known you long enough. There's a reason I'm back in your life right now, and it's time for you to take advantage of that. And many tears, and 3 hours later, I now confessed everything to her. And she said to me, she said, here's the thing. I love this saying when they say, the definition of a fighter is not someone that throws punches or the amount of punches they throw. The definition of a fighter is the fighter that keeps getting up after they've taken so many punches. And she said to me, she just literally looked at me. She's like, get up. It's time to get up. And that hit me so hard, right? And so I did this. She said to me, it's time for you to get to know yourself again. And she demanded that I take a meeting with myself every single week, just myself. She said,
wow.
We all have appointments with everyone else. And, dentists, doctors, or hairdresser, our nails, whatever it is. And she said, when was the last time you ever had a meeting with yourself? And so every Wednesday at 5 o'clock at this little restaurant on the Danforth here in Toronto, it's called Local 1794, I would sit in there and I would have a meeting with myself. And I would write what I liked, disliked, loved, hated. I had no idea what this journey was supposed to be. And it was hard. Like, some of the stuff that came out of me was very difficult. It was torture, to tell you the truth. And all of a sudden it was like, I started writing my own stories. I started writing moments that had happened in my life. I was truly trying to discover who I was, who I am, and who I'm supposed to become. And I was writing these stories. And so to hold me accountable, I put them on a blog. I put them out there so that I would continue this process and I wouldn't give it up until I got back up. And the craziest thing is I called it the Positive People Army, and still to this day, I have no idea why I called it that. It was just like these 3 words came to me. 3 words like were gifted to me, and I called it that. And people found these stories. They found them. And the most beautiful thing that happened was that every single person that read the stories would say, that's my story. You're telling an experience I went through. I feel like you're sharing my words.
Yep.
And all of these people kept talking to me, and it was fascinating because all of a sudden I wasn't feeling so alone in this journey that I was going on. And I loved speaking with these people. And then the thing that I discovered is that I couldn't talk to all of these people. There was hundreds of them that were talking to me. And I just felt like I needed to create a place that all of them could talk to each other, so that, the gift they were giving me, which is I wasn't alone anymore, I could give back to them. And so I met up with a girlfriend, and I'm telling her about this dilemma that I'm having, that, oh my goodness, hundreds of people are talking to me. And I said, I just wish I could figure out how they could all talk to each other. And she said to me, Heidi, just start a Facebook group. No word of a lie, I had no idea what a Facebook group was. And like I say to people on a regular basis, this was the most beautiful mistake that ever happened. And I started this Facebook group, and I called it, again, the Positive People Army. And in 24 hours, 1,200 people had joined.
Wow. And
I realized in that moment there was something bigger happening than me. And it just grew. It just grew like crazy. And really, out of out of nothing, because it wasn't something where I was just like, so many people have said to me, did you have a business plan? Did you have, what it is you were going
No,
to do?
your
I had
pain birthed your
nothing.
purpose.
Exactly. I had
Yeah.
nothing, but I'd always feared vulnerability for the longest time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went through the writing process with the blog, that's when I leaned so far into vulnerability that there was no way back. And I liked it. I actually liked it. I liked going that far into my vulnerability and being that open and that honest and that authentic. It was like any mask I had worn was now being stripped away. And I started to feel like I wore this incredible, powerful vulnerability cape, and it made me a superhero. And I felt like that. And the Positive People Army made me feel like that. And what was so amazing is people that found it from all over the world, they feel like that now. And the greatest thing about it is that it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to everyone, because it's an army. And, I don't police this group. I don't tell people what they can or cannot put on it, because it doesn't belong to just me. It belongs to all of us. I am one of 16,000 people in there.
Wow.
And, people will say to me, like they'll message me, is it all right if I, post this in the PPA? And I always say, sweetheart, the PPA belongs to you. If you feel it needs to be shared with this army, then share it. Right. I'm not going to tell you. If you feel it's going to benefit people in this space, then post it.
Right.
And so, and I've allowed that because I really never felt like I was the one that had to give permission for it. I felt like the universe just gave permission for this. The way it's happened, the way people found it from all over the world, when it was never advertised, it was never, people just, and the most fascinating thing that happens is people will say to me, I have no idea how I became a part of this group. Like, I don't remember how it's like I was just here.
It's funny you say that.
That's amazing.
It's funny you say that, because I'm in the group, and I've been in the group for over a year, definitely. It's probably maybe 2-3 years, probably. I have no idea how I ended up in the group, but I'm in there.
See? I'm telling you.
You spoke to so many important points, like how your pain birthed your purpose. Because there's a lot of people out here that don't know what they're supposed to do with life, and they're looking for this perfect way to do something. And many of the women that I speak to that are blessing so many lives, and their lives are being impacted, it was through their pain that they found their purpose. You spoke to vulnerability, and I'm big on that. I love Dr. Brene Brown and, removing shame and all those things. There is so much strength in vulnerability. I used to share all kinds of stuff on social media, and people are like, oh, wow, you're kind of putting all your business out there. You're sharing so much. I could never do that. But not only did that allow for me to share my story and to inspire somebody else with how I was able to get through something, or for them to watch my progression, but it's social proofing. Like you said, people were reaching out to you saying, oh my God, I feel like you're sharing my story, because our stories, they may be about us, but they're not only for us. They help other people. So the social proof of allowing other people to feel like they are not alone. There are other people out there experiencing this. You're not alone. It creates a support system. And thank God you had your friend to pull you up and remind you that you need to get back up. Not everyone has that support system, but you having your Positive People Army group has created an online version of that support system. Like you said, it's not about you. You were able to create a community.
100%.
That is so beautiful. So, how has this experience changed how you view life going forward?
Oh my gosh, I view life such wide eyes now. I see everything now, and I think one of the biggest things that came out of this that I learned, and I truly feel is a gift, is I learned how to listen. I learned how to listen with every single sense that I have. And how many times are we in conversations and people are talking, and yet we're already thinking of our answer, or we're already thinking of what we have to do later. And I started really seeing and listening to people instead of my own dialogue in my head, and truly seeing people for what they are, be it that maybe they're in pain, or they're going through complete happiness, or that they just need a shoulder to cry on. And when you listen and see people with every single sense that you have, connection happens like you've never had. And for me, the biggest thing was I want to connect with people. I want those relationships. I want real relationships that exist. And when you start to shift like that, when you shift into a place of, I'm done with the shallow conversations. I even found myself, I'm not nearly as social as I used to be, just going to every single event that is out there, because I was having such a hard time with just talking about the weather.
Yes. See, thank you for sharing that. I'm glad I'm not alone.
And so all of a sudden it was just like, I don't want to just have these surface. There you go. There's the word. I don't want to live in that surface anymore. I truly want to live in this place where I feel the purpose why we're all here. And the craziest thing that happens is when you shift into that person, it's an adjustment in your life to the people that start to disappear. And the people that, you thought meant something in your life, or there was a true friendship or a true authenticity that occurred. But when you show up in that space and you start to make other people feel uncomfortable because, you're willing to be vulnerable. Yes. You're willing to ask questions that maybe they're not ready to answer. And I don't have any judgment whatsoever if no one is ready to answer that, or no one is ready to have those conversations. My door is always open for anyone to come back in, should they wish, or, want help. But yeah, for me, it was just looking for and wanting those incredible relationships. And as much as I say, people start to leave your life, what's really fascinating is the people that then come in.
Yes, because you make space for them.
Yes. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, where have you been? Where have you been? Yes. I am so grateful you have walked in my doorway. And, that you are ready to embrace life fully. I feel everyone in life has their own journey. And if they choose to live in fear, if they choose to live in excuses, then they've made that choice, and it's never up to me to say anything. I can easily point out, but honest to God, if they choose to stay there, I only have to respect that and send love. But I know I haven't chosen that. And I will be the first one to tell you if I am experiencing fear, or if I do want to sit back on an excuse, but I won't let myself stay there for very long. That's for sure.
But that's just it. You understand that it is a choice, but that takes coming to a certain level of awareness. We all evolve at different stages in our life. And I think that when you get to that stage where you're at, because you've taken a look at yourself, and you've learned to understand who you are, you're more patient and understanding of other people, but your evolution has brought you to a space where you understand that everything is a decision. People always say, well, I didn't decide to do this. Well, actually you did. And sometimes not making a decision is a decision to stay there. Yeah. You were talking about people leaving and people coming, and I truly have always believed that every single connection that we have with somebody has a purpose. We have people in our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I find that the more that you start to evolve and the more that you start to elevate your paradigm and your awareness, people will fall off. And like you said, there's that uncomfortability there. And there's no, negative feelings or whatever, but you no longer resonate. You're no longer vibrating on the same level. So they don't get you. And that's okay, because now you've made space for the people that do resonate with you, the people that are thinking and are in the same mindset as you. I think that's beautiful. So what advice would you give to a woman that isn't happy in her career and not sure what to do?
That's the thing. No matter what, we always actually know what to do. We always do. We all have the answers within us, every single person. The thing with that whole sentence is that as a society, in most cases, we're constantly looking outwards for what the answer is. And we're looking for, someone to give us advice or point us in the right direction, or for something to fall in our lap, or, for this big revelation to happen. And then we're going to know what it is we're supposed to do. And none of that happens. We don't have script writers here. This is life. And the thing is, when I say we have the answers within, that part is the hard part. That is the most difficult part, because those answers are within us, but we have to do the work to get it.
Yes.
And I love talking with people who say, well, I read all the positive books, and I've done the work, and I've taken a course, and it just doesn't work. And I always say to people, tomorrow, could you run a marathon with me? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, tomorrow, could you run a marathon with me? And they're like, no, don't be ridiculous. You'd have to train. I'm like, really? You'd have to train? You mean every day? You mean every day you would have to do something to train to run a marathon? How long do you think it would take? I don't know, months, a year? Really? Every day. So would you be willing to do that if you were like, let's run a marathon? Well, of course I would. And why won't you do it for yourself?
For yourself, yes.
Why won't you do it for yourself? Put the work in every single day. I do not get up every single day and just go about my life and go to my to-do list. One of my favorite sayings that I, say to people, or not even a saying, it's actually kind of my mantra that I say. And it's, it's when I get up in the morning, it's, of course, I do all of my gratitude, but then I'm like, that is a very important part of my day, the very beginning. It's like, thank you, I'm still alive. Thank you, God. But it's not, what do I have to do today? Which the majority of us all say. What do I have to do today? What is on my to-do list? But, it's, who do I want to be today?
Oh, I love
who
that.
Who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Do I want to be someone that is happy? Do I want to be someone that is successful? Do I want to be someone that lives a life of gratitude? Do I want to be someone who fills their life with relationships? I'm going to say yes to every single one of those. And then I do that every single day, whatever that takes. And I'm telling you, there is nothing perfect about my life at all. There are days where you're just like, oh, I'm so tired, or whatever it is. But again, it goes back to that choice. Am I going to choose to be in that bad mood, or choose to be tired, or choose not to do anything? Or am I going to choose to go forward? Am I going to choose to read the same chapter in a book every single day to remind myself what my goals are? Am I going to, write out something for the PPA of importance to me in that moment? And, maybe someone else needs to hear it because I've had a conversation about it. What is it? Who am I going to be? And so if you want to make a difference in your life, and you want a change, and you want to get out of whatever it is you're in, then get out of whatever it is you're in. Start working towards it today. Just get up and say, I'm working towards getting out of this today. And every single day, do whatever it takes to get there. You have the answers within you. Just do the work, period.
I think asking yourself that question every morning, who do I want to be, is extremely powerful. We all create vision boards, and we have, affirmations that we use. It's all about the end goal of who we want to be, the life we want to have. And many of us are in our current circumstances saying, well, I'm not that person. I don't know how to be that person, because we're still focusing on our current. But asking yourself, who do I want to be? Think of that person that you want to be, and act as though you are that person. That is the only gap between who you are right now. So I think that is such a powerful question.
I wrote a post because I'm an entrepreneur now, and I, work from home. I've had this thing, and maybe you get the same thing, where people say, oh, you're so lucky you could just work in your pajamas. and whenever I hear that, I'm like, well, is that who you want to be? You want to be the person that's in their pajamas every single day? Is that your bar of success? because my bar of success doesn't exist of someone that's in their pajamas every day.
Right. Exactly.
And it's like, I get up, I work out, I shower, I get ready. It doesn't matter if I go to my office in my house or sit in my backyard or go to a coffee shop or whatever it is. It's like I dress the person I want to be. And that person in my head is successful. And for me, success, and I'm not saying that people have to go out and get a whole new wardrobe. That's not what I'm talking about. It's just feel good. Feel good about how you look. Do your hair. Like every single day, I put makeup on, not a ton of makeup, but I put makeup on. I always have lipstick on. I always have my nails painted. I am a person that I like the way I look. It makes me feel good. Makes me feel good. People in their pajamas every day, granted, on the weekend, on a Sunday, on a rainy day, being in your pajamas all day is fun. But I'm not that person every day, nor do I ever wish to be.
And to the people that are saying to you, you're lucky. I mean, one of the coaching sessions that I learned from Bob Proctor, and we're going to get into that in a second with you, but is about creating the self-image that you want. Because there's two images we hold of ourselves, the image we have of ourselves on the inside, how we really see ourselves, and the image on the outside that we project to the world. But if you want to be able to change your self-image, how you view yourself, like, who do you admire? What qualities about them can you emulate? How can you start to be a better person or be the person that you want to be? And that means showing up as that person, being dressed and ready to go every day, whatever makes you feel good. In order to recreate that image that you have of yourself. So I wanted to get into that because you've recently joined Linda Proctor. So for those of you who don't know, Bob Proctor was featured in the movie The Secret. He is an amazing success coach. He is, I have so many words right now, but I'm like going to start fumbling on them. In terms of mentorship, he has taught me the world about mindset. Everything I know about mindset started with Bob and Linda Proctor. So I want you to tell us how you met the Proctors and how that's changed your life.
Sometimes I just, first of all, I saw The Secret 17 years ago. And Bob Proctor and I love how you're like, I'm bubbling over my words because I feel the same way. He impacted my life so much. And what paradigm shifts and what that truly means in your life, and how we all walk around with our own paradigms that keep us in the lives that we're in. And yeah, he definitely has had such an impact on me. And I got this amazing text. I feel the law of attraction is real. It's so incredibly real that whatever you put out there, it comes back. It just comes back, and you are rewarded in life. And the PPA, I feel, has been that for me. I feel the universe made this beautiful mistake happen in my life to bring something to, whomever it was that needed it. And because of that, amazing opportunities have fallen in my lap. They have come to me in many different ways. And one of which was a text I got from a very dear friend, Marnie Kay, that I've known for about 3 years. And she sent me a text and just said, would you be available to come to Linda and Bob Proctor's house? They would like to talk to you. And first of all, I don't know about you, but I just about died. Like, I had to read it several times. And I was like, and I had no idea why. I didn't understand why I'm even, being asked, to come and meet them. And yet, at the same time, I feel that I've done something in this lifetime that, again, is attracting like-minded people. Just like I said, people have left, but then all of these amazing people come in, and energy just attracts energy, and especially like-minded people. And so I went over to Linda and Bob's house and, was able to meet the two of them and, have an incredible conversation with them. And Bob is one of these human beings that when you speak, he sees you.
Oh, yeah.
He is acknowledges you. There is something to be said for a human being that can do that. Someone of such greatness, he is such a legend on this planet, and yet when you sit in front of him and you speak, you are the only human being in this world. And he makes you feel like that. Like that exists.
You spoke earlier about listening, and when you talk to Bob, you know he's listening to you because he's literally you can see his mouth moving, and he's saying the words that you're saying to make sure that he's focusing on your words. He is so zoned in and focused when you're speaking to him. Go ahead, I'm listening.
Oh my gosh, no, that so for me that it was I remember almost feeling like butterflies in my stomach, and feel like, because the energy that I was getting off of him was like, I was like goosebump over goosebump. And so I was called over to chat with the two of them. And what's so amazing is opportunities are going to show up in your life, and they're not always going to arrive the way you expect them.
Right.
And it's having such an incredible open mind to realize that even though you think things should go one way, listen, the universe has your back. When you put something out there, what it is you're looking for, you have to be open-mindedness enough to realize that, and recognize it when it comes. And that's why I feel so many times people in life, opportunities show up, and they go, no, it's not for me. And maybe it's out of fear. Maybe it's out of, they're uncomfortable of what the opportunity is. Maybe it is that, they just don't have an open mind enough to see that they've asked for that. And it's going to keep showing up no matter what. So don't worry, everyone. It does keep showing up. But it does. Until it slaps you across the face and you're like, oh, I asked for this.
Yep.
So for me, that's what this was. It was an opportunity that Linda and Marnie both offered me to partner alongside them, to lead and mentor people, to live the life they've always dreamed of with the support they actually deserve.
Yes.
And most of us walk around in life trying to do everything on our own. And I'm like, why would you do that? Even, entrepreneurs, I get, like we have become a society where, the corporate world has become so toxic for most people, not all corporations, but there are a lot of them so entrepreneurship has really taken off, and there are so many opportunities for people to be an entrepreneur. But at the end of the day, most people are solopreneurs. They're doing everything on their own. And this is why on their own, they do everything on their own. And this is why most entrepreneurs fail, is because they are doing it on their own. And so, the opportunity I was given, and this is why I say this is exactly what I asked for. Because with everything that I have with the PPA, which is to motivate and inspire people, I feel that is a part of my role within that. I never had the tools to give them to show them how to do it, to show them how they can have that change in their life, how I can work alongside them as their mentor and give them that, show them that, guide them, teach them. And so I was given this opportunity, and, it didn't show up like I thought it would, but oh my God, I've never been more happy in my entire life. It's definitely changed my life. And, being able to work with, Linda and Marnie, and to be mentored by Bob, he has been so generous on every single level to me. He, one of my stories from my new book, he actually shared on the Proctor Gallagher website, and he did not have to do that. He didn't have to do that.
They are such generous people. I wish everyone was like the Proctors. Honestly, they are the most genuinely loving and giving people I have ever encountered in my entire life. Like, I had only known Linda for a short period of time before she agreed to write the foreword for my first book. And I thought, oh my God, are you serious? Like, she didn't have to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, they are just such loving, giving people. Like, you spoke earlier about, paradigms. And for those of you who don't know, paradigms are a multitude of habits and ideas. The things that we do, the way that we see things, the way that we act are habits. And we don't understand that if you can find the discipline to change your habits, you can change your life. And Bob teaches, because he's such a spiritual being. So he talks about, like, he teaches very much on manifestation, but it's like using the discipline of your regular daily actions to create the life that you want. And
Mm-hmm.
for many of my listeners who are Christian, like, if you believe in prayer and declarations, Bob basically breaks it down into order so you understand how to do it more directly so that you actually get what you're praying for. And that's what I've learned from them. I actually connected to Marnie through Linda. Like you said, opportunity comes in the ways that you least expect it. My
Mm-hmm.
connection with them came from a complete stranger that invited me to meet Bob. And that day I met Bob and Linda, and Linda was the most warm, inviting person, because
Mm-hmm.
back then it was 2013, the year after I'd lost my sister, and I was still really in a shell. And I walked into this room completely introverted. I was, selling real estate, but I was doing okay, but I could have been doing better, but because I was so in my head. And
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid to speak to anyone, and she came over and sat at the table where I was sitting by myself and made conversation and just asked me about me so that I could warm up,
Mm-hmm.
because obviously, we don't want to talk about the weather, but when you start asking someone about themselves, it's something they know, so it's easy for them to talk about. And when I was finished, she was like, "Oh my God, your story is so inspiring. You need to share with my husband." And I was like, "Who's your husband?" And she's like, "Bob." And I'm like, she's like, "Come, you have to hear this lady's story." And I was like, "Oh my God." So I literally had like heart failure. But anyway, long story short, I was able to connect with Marnie. Marnie's very close with Linda. And for a couple
Mm-hmm.
years, everything that I know about mentoring and being mentored, everything that I know about even public speaking and being able to share and express and use that to help others, I learned through them. Like, there's so many things that changed my entire life just through that season of being connected with them. So I can only imagine what you're experiencing right now.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's, I honestly get up every day and I'm like, I just got so lucky. I just got so lucky in life, and yet it has nothing to do with luck. These are
Hmm.
words that we use to describe
Hmm.
what it is that we're going through. And it only occurs because you just live that life. And I do believe that everything you put out there, I always look at the universe as a magic genie. I used to tell my kids that when they were little. And I would say, whatever you say, like, watch what you say. The magic genie will say, your wish is my command. And I do believe that exists. I do. And I'm the first one to say, oh my goodness, are you sure that's what you want to say out loud?
Yeah, because we attract what we're in harmony with. You can't attract what you're not in harmony with. So, like you said,
Exactly.
you got to be mindful of what you say. I have friends that say all the
Mm-hmm.
time, "Oh, I don't need a man. I don't want a man." When deep down inside, they really do. Like, stop saying that. What
Mm-hmm.
are you putting out there? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was at, it's funny. I was at a function once, and there was a woman, and I was saying, how is it going? How is life? Because she moved from out west, and she moved to Toronto, and I said, how has it been since you moved to Toronto? And she said to me, oh my goodness, it's just so awful. Like, there's no decent men here in Toronto. There's just absolutely no decent men. Like, I'm just like, I'm never going to meet anyone. Like, it's just not going to happen. And I
Hmm.
looked at her, and I'm like, you need to stop saying that.
Yeah.
I said, if you continue to say that, then that's all that's going to exist in your life. And she said,
Yes.
no, you don't understand. And I'm like, no, 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 no. And I looked at her, I'm like, no, 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 I actually do understand. I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
Yeah.
you need whatever it is you are looking for in your life. You need to say those words. You need to start
Yes.
saying there are amazing men in Toronto, and I'm going to meet an amazing man. And
Exactly.
and I'm just so excited to her. And she's like, listen, you just don't get it because you're married and not single. And I looked at her and I said, you know what? I don't get it. You're absolutely right. What you're doing is exactly what you should be doing. And I was just like, and I walked away and I was like, oh my gosh, she has no idea. She has no idea. She is creating the life
Creating.
that she
Yep.
exists in.
She
She's
created her
creating it.
reality. She created
She
her
is
reality.
creating it, 100% creating it. And sometimes I almost get sick to my stomach for people because I'm just like, oh, if you just had any idea how
Hmm.
powerful what it is you're thinking and saying is,
Yep.
believe me, you would never say another negative word again.
Exactly. Oh my God. I feel like we could like go on and talk forever. I definitely I have to have you back on the show again for sure. So
Oh, thank you. I love this conversation.
thank you. And that is the reason I want to continue having women like yourself on the show. I want it to be really authentic conversations just about your life experience and your wisdom. I don't want any scripted questions and answers. I want the real you, and I want people to see that so they can learn from you.
Aw, thank you. I feel they're learning so much from you, sweetheart. I
Thank
really
you.
do. Like,
Thank you.
putting yourself out there and inviting incredible people to have real conversations. That's very powerful. And I am so grateful for someone like yourself,
Thank
that
you.
you give this space for others to hear.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's funny. I actually learned this philosophy from Bob Proctor because, you spoke earlier about people who want to be entrepreneurs and they're actually solopreneurs. He taught me that you can be in business for yourself, but you can't do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not focusing on the me, me, me. And although my journey in entrepreneurship expanded and started to blow up when I started sharing my story, it's it's become for me therapeutic to help other people share their story, to
Mm-hmm.
give the women that come on the show, even if you've shared your story somewhere else, to share it with an audience that may have never heard your story before, to be able to be
Mm-hmm.
inspired by that and to show them how powerful their stories are as well. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
I
thank you.
I have a question that I like to ask all the women that come on the show, because I came across this article that basically explains that your favorite type of shoe says a lot about your personality. And because, my whole branding and walking my stilettos, we all know I'm a little obsessed with stilettos. But my question to you, Heidi, is what is your favorite shoe? Is it a boot, a running shoe, a walking shoe, a flat, a flip flop, pumps?
For me, it is definitely the strappy stiletto. That is my favorite shoe. I'm 5'8", so I'm very tall. But
Okay.
when I was really young, a doctor told my mother at 3 years old that I was going to be 5'11", and I was determined to be 5'11". I wanted to be 5'11" so badly. And then at like 18 years old, I stopped at 5'8". And I'm not going to lie, I was incredibly disappointed. I was so disappointed because I just wanted to be 5'11". So, and the thing is even though I'm 5'8", I have a very small foot. I only have like 6.5, size 7, sometimes 7,
Oh,
sometimes
wow.
6.5. And so like I should just tip over. And so I always love to wear, and because I have such a small foot, I like the strappier sandal. So something that's just that strappy stiletto really high, because I like to be 5'11",
Mm,
and
okay.
love to wear high heels. My husband is the same height as I am. We are both 5'8".
Hmm.
And yet everywhere we go, when I got married, I wore 5-inch heels. I just love to be tall, and I love that
Mm.
feeling of being tall. And, thank goodness my husband is so self-confident, and he's just like, I don't care.
Okay, so it says that women in stilettos work hard and have excellent taste. These women are incredibly hardworking. They have major drive, determination, and standout work ethic. She also really loves and values beauty, so she surrounds herself with beautiful, whether it's things, people, or how she lives. It does not have to be expensive, it just needs to be pleasing to the eye. She has a knack for being able to create an aesthetically pleasing space. Does that
Huh,
sound like you?
I love that. Sounds like, seriously, that sounds exactly like me. Amazing. I love that. I love that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, before I go to the final segment of the show, I want you to tell people where they can stay connected with you online.
Definitely. So they can find me on Facebook, Positive People Army. It's our group. Myself is just Heidi Allen is my profile. PositivePeopleArmy.com is our website. Instagram is just at Positive People Army. It's super simple.
Perfect, perfect. And I will have the link in the details of your episode so they can just click and follow you on those platforms. So, usually, the final segment. I call it A Walk in Her Stilettos, where I ask a couple of quick reflection questions. But because we were having such an amazing conversation and we've gone way beyond time, I'm just going to ask maybe one or two.
Okay.
So, first question, what have you become better at saying no to in the last 5 years?
Things actually don't feed my soul anymore. If
Love it.
I don't feel it feeds that, I really don't want to be a part of it.
I love that that seems to be the common answer when I ask that question. It's like, once you become, you reach a certain level of awareness, you don't want to say yes to everything anymore. You've learned to say no to things that don't feed your soul. I love that. I love that. Okay. Name a book that has changed or greatly impacted your life.
The book, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity by Catherine Ponder. It's a book that was written back in the 50s, and it is so relevant to today. And that book has had an incredible impact on me throughout my journey, and I've actually read it several times. But if there is one book that started the journey that's impacted me, when I first started self-development, it actually occurred from reading the book, The Saint, the Surfer, and the CEO by Robin Sharma. That was one of the very first books that I ever read that was, an inspiring book. And it was recommended to me from a friend, and I picked it up and I read it in like a day. And it was like a light turned on. And gosh, that was like 20 years ago. But it like a light turned on for me then.
Wow.
So I'd have to say I have 2 books.
Perfect. Okay. I need to write those down. I'm going to add those to my reading list. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You. So Heidi, I want to thank you once again for taking the time to join us. I honestly appreciate you and all of the gems that you shared with us today. And I definitely need to have you back on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I would love to join you and your audience again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And to our audience, until next time, subscribe to our newsletter at awalkinmystilettos.com. And if you've received value from this show, share it with a friend that needs to hear Heidi's testimony. Be sure to screenshot this week's episode and tag us on Instagram at @TheRealMakini and at Positive People Army. Is that correct, Heidi?
Correct.
All right, perfect. And send us your guest suggestions. Send us those suggestions to info@awalkinmystilettos.com and continue to walk in greatness in your stilettos in a manner worthy of your calling.